All right, I'm fortunate today to be chatting with one-fifth of the band Needtobreathe. You know his solo work also as Wilder Woods, and I've heard he's a bit of a golf nut as well, certified golf guy. Bear Rinehart, thanks for dropping in for a little bit.
No, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Now, you guys are currently touring. Had an album that came out recently called Caves, going on a world tour here pretty soon. How much golf is being played on these tours,
You
at
know,
least for you?
yeah, I mean, it's been good actually. We're on the second leg of it right now, doing all the amphitheaters and everything, and we're probably 2 or 3 times a week right now. So that's really good for me. You can get kind of carried away on the tour and it becomes tough, weather-wise or whatever. But we've had a run of luck, so I've been playing a lot.
Now, that's a lot more golf than I'm playing as a father of a 2-year-old right
Yeah.
now. But so we all hate slow play, right? Has a golf round ever gone up very close to a show? Like, have you been
Oh man.
scrambling to get ready, jumping in the shower,
Yeah.
trying to get ready?
Yeah. A couple times I pushed it. We play Red Rocks, every couple of years. We're going into it next week sometime. It's our fifth time playing there, and Castle Pines is always a place that I like to get out and try to play. And a couple of times I've played on the day of the show, and it's like you're on hole 12. It's like, man, maybe I can get one more in, that kind of thing. And then it's a little bit of a drive from there at Red Rock. So that's happened to me a couple of times. But I try not to cut it too crazy. I mean, I walked one day. I remember we played Atlanta. I walked Peachtree, and it was about 100 degrees outside and that kind of thing. So it wasn't that I got rushed; it was that I was dead tired by the time I got to the stage. So we pushed it for a little bit.
Yeah, fans are wondering why you're wearing a Titleist hat up there for the first
Exactly,
couple songs. Yeah.
exactly.
So I
Yeah,
saw you played TPC Sawgrass recently.
we
Any
did.
highlights?
Man, it's well, it was cool for me because it was the second time I went down with some guys and played, and I hadn't been playing a lot, and it just played horrible. It was a great course, obviously, but I had a bad experience. So this time, I got a little second chance at it and played a little bit better. And I got to go. Judah and the Lion is a band that's out opening for us right now, and Judah was a college baseball player, good athlete, hits it a long way. So me and him have both been getting out a lot and got to play together, and finally, hit the green on 17 finally. And yeah, it was a good day.
I mean, if as long as you can do that, that's really you walk away feeling pretty
Yeah,
good.
I parred 17 and 18, so I feel like you know, so we
That
accomplished something. Yeah.
that's all you got to say, right? It's so difficult playing with someone who's longer than you because you feel like you gotta keep
Hmm.
up a little bit, and you're obviously a pretty competitive guy, athlete as well. Give us a little scouting report on your golf game. Not as long as Judah, but
No, I'm probably an 8 right now. I didn't play golf until after college. I played football in a small school at Furman,
mhm.
and just didn't grow up around it. My dad didn't play, none of that. So um, when I got into it, I mean, I fell in love with it. But I definitely, if I'm not playing at least once a week, it goes down very quickly. So I feel like for me, like the athleticism is a big part of it. And then it's just not. I'm not a guy who's like totally natural at it. I didn't grow up on the course and those kind of things. So for me, the more I'm playing, the better it gets. And got a chance to play in a tournament last year, a sort of Ryder Cup tournament thing with Steph Curry and Del Curry were the captains of the two teams. And so it was, Drew Brees and Ben Roethlisberger, Ray Allen, all these guys, all of them better than me. But me and Thomas Rhett, a country singer, went. We were the worst two guys there, but we did win some matches, so we felt good about that. So around that kind of thing, I grind and try to get better. Most of the time, I'm just enjoying it.
As long as they're giving you enough shots, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Can you rank the games of the members of Need to Breathe? I mean, we know that Randall
Oh,
can hit 180 ball speed, but
right. Yeah, exactly. No, it's funny. These guys, I mean, I'm begging them to play. On this tour, literally, our guitar player, Tyler, I bought him his first polo. I was like, listen, this is your entry into, we're going to do this. So we're trying to get him going. Seth, the bass player, played in high school, and he's one of those guys that's like really annoyingly good because he played when he was a kid. And so he hasn't played in 3 years. He comes out and But everybody else, I cannot get to go play with me. So at least have that. I think I can beat them all right now.
Now, everyone has the home track that they kind of first learned on. Obviously, yours is a little bit later in life, but what's the sweet spot? Like, what course has your heart as the place where you first kind of
Oh
learned to
man,
play and played a
probably,
lot?
yeah, probably the Walker course is at Clemson. That's where they play, the college team plays, and it was close enough to me, and you could get on, it's like it was the nicest course around that I could afford when I was right out of college. And so Billy Napier's guy, he's a football coach at Florida now, was my roommate in college. We were best friends. He was my quarterback, and so when he was a grad assistant at Clemson, I was living in Seneca, South Carolina, right close to each other, and he was the one that gave me my first clubs and said, "Hey, you got to figure this out. Like, let's do this together." So we used to play a ton at Walker Course, right after we both graduated from college. So that's probably the sweet one. And now, I'm at Troubadour in Nashville, which is just, I mean, it's a crazy experience. If people haven't experienced this Discovery Land stuff, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the views from Troubadour are pretty insane, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those, there's no dress code, it's that kind of, it's real laid back. It's very a lot of musicians and athletes and that kind of thing. But it's really fun because they're great to my kids. I mean, for me, I got 3 little boys now, so taking them out there is very important. So not being too stuffy around the driving range and all that kind of stuff is important, for an 8 and 6-year-old, so they can hit some balls.
Yeah, I wanted to get into some of the deeper stuff later, but we'll go into a little bit of parenting right now. What do you think the key is in terms of getting your kids involved in athletics? Like, how do you know
Yeah.
when to push them and when not to push them? Especially, I imagine all your kids are kind of in elementary school age,
Yeah.
maybe one's in
Yeah.
middle school by now.
Yeah. I've got 8, 6, and 3. So they're playing baseball right now, the 2 older ones, and it's been fun. Obviously, I think like each kid is so different in their personality and how much you can push them and all that. So I'd hate to say like this is the time or this isn't what exactly you should do. But I found, just like I think most people know, but just like the lessons that sports can teach are just incredible. It's a kind of, you can't make your kids fail like sports can. And that's so important. You know what I mean? For them to go, I feel like I lost the game for us. It was some of my best, those kind of things, those kind of conversations are what I love about it. And so I really am trying to get them to figure out how to use their body. I'm trying to, you know what I mean? In baseball, golf, same way. It's like, not get too crazy technical on all the details. Just like see if they will fall in love with one of these things. Cause I'm a big believer that like, whatever you're doing, music included, if you don't love the work, then you don't love it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the thing I want to foster. So when when they are 12, 13, they go, I really do love this and I love working at it. So yeah, I'll stay on the lookout for it, but we're having really fun with them right now.
What do your games look like at Troubadour? Just some guys that you play with?
Man, it's all over the place. Yeah, I've got some guys that I like to play with a lot. That just it's a good. I don't like a ton of stress. Like when I'm playing golf, and also, it's a lot of my life on the road is these meet and greets and those kind of things. Like I don't. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to hang and have a good time. But it's really fun because there's a lot of people. I play with Tim Tebow out there, or Darius Rucker, or those kind of, like there's just a lot of those kind of guys going around. So that's a lot of fun. And it's been my favorite thing to do is play in the afternoons or evenings by myself. I mean, there's nothing like it to me. It's in the summer, so nobody wants to be out there. It's hot. I get out there about 5 or 5:30, and I can play 18 holes in 2 hours, and repeat a hole if I want to, that kind of thing. So I really enjoy that part. I find that I celebrate myself a lot more when nobody's around.
Well, because you can hit 2 balls. That's why.
Yeah. Well, you hit a good one, you're like, yes, Bear. Which is I would never do if you don't know me around my buddies. So I do really enjoy that.
So Napier, Tebow, have they sent you some Gator stuff to put on over the Crimson?
They have not. I think they know better. I think they know better. But I tell friends, I'm like, man, it's the crazy. I follow the Florida stuff, I mean, religiously, really. I mean, I read every single article they write about. So it's a very, I never cared at all about Florida Gators until Billy got there. And now I'm like the biggest fan in the world. So pulling for him.
Yeah, we're still trying to get it back a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
when you're playing at home, do you listen to music on the golf course, or are you a listen to music guy?
I'm really not,
Yeah.
but I've got buddies that are, so and I think most of the time, like I like when a guy is into like the old country kind of like Waylon Jennings and that kind of thing. That's my golf. That'd be my golf kind of vibe. Nathaniel Rateliff, that kind of stuff. But I've got one of my best friends is out there and he's always playing, Justin Bieber and Justin Timberlake and all that kind of like pop music. That's not my vibe, but he likes it. I'm okay with it.
Do you like listening to your own stuff? Like if
That's a really funny thing. They know that I don't. It's not that I don't like it, but you know what I mean. I just don't.
yeah.
It's like I'm a pretty shy person, so if they're trying to get under my skin, they blast "Need to Breathe" on the golf course, and they know it's like they got a chance to get in my head a little bit.
Have you ever come up with a song while playing golf?
Oh, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. And I think the reason is it's like golf is my one spot to not have to think about music at all. But I've been pitched many songs while playing golf.
I bet.
Everybody you play with thinks they're a songwriter, so they've all got ideas that I of course can't use. But no, I don't think I've written anything out there.
This might be a dad joke, but I would have thought "Drive All Night" would have been a little bit about
golf. Oh,
that's
good. That's good. Yeah, I had a manager one time. We had this has been a long time ago, our first manager, but we had a song called Difference Maker. And it's really not, it's about humility, really, the song is. And he came to me, he goes, Bear, he's like, the new song, it's working. He's like, I put it in my head right before I hit a drive on the golf course. I was like, okay, if it's working for you, keep using it, I guess.
It's kind of a good tempo, I guess, for your swing,
Right. Yeah. Slow it down just a little bit.
Now there's a lot of crossover, I think, between your band and golf right now. I mean, you guys have been in commercials for the PGA Tour. At least your music has.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of golfers, pro golfers, love your stuff. I mean, we've seen Russell Henley playing your charity event. Like I've seen him play Jimmy thing on acoustic guitar too, so he could probably fill in if he ever needed someone.
I know.
A lot more tour pros, college golfers. They all love your stuff, but what's it like being a golf fan and being fans of these guys who are also fans of you?
I mean, it's been one of the most, it's such a fun perk of being a musician, honestly, because like this job is tough and you're gone a lot, just like the golfing thing is. I think we have a lot in common with athletes like that, especially baseball players and golfers. They came up, through the minor leagues, or they came up, Corn Ferry, those kind of things. Is like it's tough travel, it's tough being away from home. I got the opportunity to go play in Scottie Scheffler's event. He had a foundation event that we played some music at and played with him, Dallas National, and got to know him a little bit. And that it's the most fun is when you find out, the people are great people. So like you mentioned, Russell Henley, I sang at his wedding and gave him a guitar for that. So like, these are like real great. Kevin Streelman is another one. Just like these, Stuart Sink, guys that you run into different places, then you find out, man, these are really great dudes. They just happen to be exceptional athletes.
Well, Scottie, recently a dad as of last week to a little boy. His buddy Sam Burns too, who you obviously follow quite a bit as well, had a son recently too, and he named him Bear.
That's what I heard.
So you?
Well, what was crazy is this is, wow. I've never met Sam, but I know he's been playing some at Troubadour here lately, and I just haven't been around to see him. But Scotty's the one that told me that, but he did not mention. I can't imagine it's about me because I haven't met Sam, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe so. That's been one of the craziest things I've had happen to me as as a musician is people come up and say they named their kid Bear. I was obviously named after Bear Bryant. So that's where my, redneck thing came from. But I do love the name. So.
Yeah, I don't think Sam Burns named his kid after Bear Bryant, though, being an LSU guy.
No, I do not think so either. I was pretty positive that wasn't it. Yeah.
0.0% chance.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about Scottie just a little bit more. You've said you've met him. Obviously, we all know he's a super great guy. Has he shared with you like his favorite Need to Breathe song or anything like that? Or
I'm trying to think what he said. I mean, one of the sweetest things that he'll, I went and played this event with Scott Drew Holcomb, Matt Carney, Judah from Judah and the Line was there too. And he came back after we had played. We just did like a writers in a round thing. And I could tell he had been crying. He's like, man, that moved me. And that was like, and that, I mean, that blew me away. I hope he won't be mad at me for sharing that. I don't think he would, but just, that was pretty incredible that like, that he was that kind of fan, and that it meant that much to him for us to come down there and play. And I've actually asked him to do a charity sort of auction items we have an organization out with us called Four Others right now, does foster care stuff, and he didn't hesitate to say yes, even though I don't know him very well. So I think you hear about a million of those stories, Romo talking about him and all that. It's like I can just validate, at least for my experience, that the guy's incredible and down to earth, and I don't know, that's great for the game of golf, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he also shares his faith a little bit like you guys do as a band. You're not maybe the traditional Christian band in a sense, but certainly, I mean, that's your guys' roots.
Sure.
He hasn't been shy about, with all the great success that he's had, and really talking about how golf doesn't define him. And I thought it was really cool before the Masters this year. He was talking about how his victory was already secured on the cross. I'm curious from your perspective, like, how does that mindset ease anxiety? Like when you're at the top of your craft, like you're getting ready for a show, you're getting ready to, go into the recording studio or anything like that. Like, how does your faith get you to the point where you can do that without being anxious or scared or fearful?
Sure. I mean, I'm somebody that struggles with that a lot. I mean, in terms of the anxiety and those kind of things. I would say, it's more zoomed out in a way. Like I think that the way our band approaches our music, if it was all about success, I mean, the difference between us and a golfer is that we don't have a scoreboard to tell us if we're doing great or not. Music is just not that way. And even the impact you have, it might be on a few people and make it great on a few people and not the masses, or there's a lot of those kind of questions that I think that as musicians, we always, come back to. And I think really it's like, do we believe this is what we were made to do? Is this our purpose in life? Can we do it, with a servant heart? That's a huge perspective like fix, I think, for us always, is to kind of go like, man, what we're really doing tonight at the show is serving these people that are coming here, because we've been given this ability and this story even, that we were supposed to share. And I think keeping that in mind, I think has been huge for our band. And the more we make records and all that, it's, the reason we're not really a Christian band is probably because we just don't, it's not like we're trying to evangelize through the music or that kind of thing necessarily. We didn't feel like that's our role. But we are trying to share our story, and that story has a lot of hope in it. And I think that's a good reminder for us every day.
Yes. Scottie was on a podcast recently, Ben Crane's podcast. And
yeah.
I think Webb Simpson does it as well. And they kind of asked him about the balance between like not caring, like being secure in your identity, knowing that you're not defined by what you do, but also not getting to the point where it's like, golf is not that big a deal. I'm not going to work hard on it. Like, what's the balance like for you as a musician that way, in terms of?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think Judah and I on this tour have talked a lot about that. I think you want to be making something. I think whether it's God or whether it's you and your personal life, like, you need to be moving forward. Stagnation is pretty tough place to be regardless. So I think that's definitely a balancing thing. And also, I feel like, I used to say this at the very beginning of our career, 20 years ago, of like, the greatest art in the world is made about God, whether we like it or not. Like, that to me is because, and when you make that with that sort of reverence, that does make the thing better. So I think that to me is important. I would say, like, it's not that I don't care about the results, but I really have had to, be like a lot of other athletes I know, in the sense of like, I've fallen in love with the process of it. And if the results are meant for me, they're meant for me. And it's not that I don't care if we win or lose, but I certainly can't control if we win or lose in terms of, what that means for a band in terms of success. So the other thing is, like, thankfulness is the automatic attitude adjustment. I think the band talks about it a lot to make sure we remind ourselves in that way. But we're probably in the best part of our career in terms of we're the biggest we've ever been and we're the happiest we've ever been. And that's really like that. I can't imagine that, getting any better. And a lot of that's based in how grateful we are that we still get to do it. And we get to do what we love, so we're very appreciative of that.
Now, as someone who's followed you guys quite a bit, I've noticed the last few years, the social media aspect has, like, you guys have really taken off with that, given more of your fans a peek behind the curtain. As someone who earlier talked about kind of being a shy guy, pretty humble, not like wanting to really maybe reveal too much. What's the adjustment been like giving people
Yeah.
more of a look into your life?
It's difficult and it still is. I mean, I think I think the thing that we've gotten a little bit better here in the last is like, because you try things, right? Everybody's like, hey, you got to do, when we first started, there wasn't social media, there was MySpace. That was like, so it's crazy how much of a career it's changed where all of a sudden this is a big deal and you need to be doing this every day. And it's so unnatural. It's always unnatural for me to like, record a message, me looking in the phone. That always feels strange to me. I'm 43 years old. So I think what's been cool is like the more we sort of see what our fans care about behind the curtain, which is turning a lot to like the stories we tell on the live show or at the meet and greets. And we've got somebody around who can kind of capture those moments and really put them out there for people to see if they weren't able to be there. That's been the thing that's working the best. But yeah, it's a total challenge for somebody like me. It's not, I think people maybe think I'm rude at first or whatever. They don't realize because my live show persona is so out there and loud and confident and those kind of things. In order to do that, I really have to save it up during the day. I guess I'm getting used to it. I also appreciate why people want that look because I'm that same way. Like, you talked about Ben Crane's one of my buddies as well. So like, but like a podcast like that, like I'm going to watch something like that. I'm going to find out all I can find out about, this stuff. So I do appreciate the tool.
Mm-hmm. Now, if we still had MySpace today, what would be your song that you'd put at the top of it?
Oh man. Well, we have a song.
You remember that? Do you remember you could put the song?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I remember our first record, we literally got on MySpace and we messaged every person that liked certain bands that we thought were like us. I mean, that's how that was the old school marketing that you had to do. I would probably, West Texas Wind is one of my favorite songs of ours right now. It's one of those songs that like on the record, it's okay. To be honest with you, we made a record during COVID that was really quick and I love that part about it. But we've been able to play that song live for the last couple of years, and it's really turned into a moment in the show that just feels like, man, I could play that song 20 years from now and still love it.
So golfers go through slumps, right? I think you and I are in a continual slump with our golf games. But when you look at guys like Spieth and JT, sometimes they can't putt, sometimes they're struggling off the tee. What are slumps like for you musically? Like what continually kind of gives you trouble where you have to wrestle with it?
I think as a writer, it's different. The tour is different than the writing part for sure. It's like almost two different jobs. But in terms of the writing the music, it's easy to start chasing. I think that's where it gets really dangerous. And what'll happen is you feel like, well, I haven't written a great one. I've been in there every day this week and I haven't really written a great one. Let me start looking over here. Like, what if I was a little more like them or this or whatever it is? And I would say almost never works out at all. And then you've kind of lost that instinct or trust in yourself. And so that's where the slump, I think, at least in my opinion, comes from. And most of the time, if I will spend the days, if I'll go in there for a few days and not try to hurry, not try to get something that's going to be great, stop thinking about the end of the song and just, it's not a means to an end.
Go play golf.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I need. So, and my wife knows that too, which is nice. She's like, you're too stressed. You need to please go play golf right now and you come back and be sweet. So
is when pro golfers, when they change instructors, is that similar to like when a band adds a member or loses a member?
I think, what I think it's like is a little bit like a producer. It feels like to me, in our world, we'll hire a producer to make a record, and normally we'll make 2 or 3 of those records with that same producer, and then we change. And I think that's a pretty natural kind of thing. Like, in the sense that the producer's not making the music for you, they're just kind of being a mirror for you. And I feel like that probably is like what the coaching thing is like. Of course, I've never been coached in that way, so I don't know exactly. But that's my closest sort of parallel.
How often are you practicing your swing? Like the
Oh
invisible.
man, when I'm playing a lot, it's a ton. And
Yeah.
it was funny. Ben Crane, we were out at Troubadour one day, and he's like, "What have you been working on?" I was like, "Well, I've been watching these videos." He's like, "Stop watching the videos." So I know that every golfer does that, and but it's very hard. I get on there and check the band stuff on Instagram, whatever. Then there's an instructional video right under. I'm like, "Whoa, that's interesting. I should try." So I've got way too much of that. I remember Russell Henley one time we were playing. He goes, "Bear." He goes, like I'm a professional golfer. I know I can play golf. He goes, what I'm working on this summer. We were out there playing when I lived in Charleston, and he's like, it's just my wedge game between like 60 and 80 yards. It's like small things. He's like, I can tell you're working on about 1,000 things, and you're not very good. So let's narrow this down a little bit.
Yeah, just have no swing thoughts at all. That's normal.
Yeah.
That's why Seth is probably so good, because he's not thinking about anything except for playing the bass and building tree houses.
That's exactly it. He's got it easy.
Now, last serious question, and then we'll close with just a little quick game. But I think it's no secret that professional golf right now is in kind of a weird state. I mean, it's a lot of boards and subcommittees and contracts and money. What's your biggest concern right now as a fan, as someone who digests, professional golf just as a regular guy? Like, what's your biggest concern right now with the game and kind of where it's going?
Yeah, I think as just like somebody completely on the outside of it, I think obviously the division is not great for the game, and obviously you want the best players all to play in the same tournaments. I mean, that's it, pretty simple. I think the thing that I see, just as being a fan for a long time, is that young players really have a small window to become those big time players. You know what I mean? And so, like, it's not like you can just go Will Zalatoris, or somebody like that. It's like, let's just wait 10 years so this gets sorted out, and then people can watch him play. It's like this is sort of that prime time, and obviously we're watching Scottie go through this moment. It's like Tiger Woods-esque. It's like that all the eyeballs need to be on that for the game of golf, and I think that's probably the thing that hurts the most of watching the tournaments and going, man, this maybe this field is not what it ought to be. And then anytime, I remember going through the lockout in baseball when I was a kid. It's a similar kind of thing. I have no problem with what guys get paid or their values and all that. That has never bothered me watching sports. But I think when the conversation just like this is, it's like, it's got to be about all the business every time. What do you think about this? How did you treat this little player? This, whatever, all that is taxing on a fan for sure.
Yeah. I tend to agree. All right, now we'll close this off with a quick game. Now, initially I was going to do Hole in One and Shank being favorite song from an album, least favorite song from an album, but then I realized that it's very unfair for you to try to pick out a song that is your least favorite, because all of your songs are great. So we'll just do Hole in One.
Okay.
So Hole in One translates to favorite song. I'm gonna list 5 of your albums. Just give me your favorite song from each of them.
Okay.
First up, we got to start with one of the OGs, not the initial OG, but the Outsiders.
Okay. Well, I'm probably going to go title track on most of these, maybe, but we'll see. But Outsiders, that song has become one that we cannot play a show without playing. It really identified who the band was, and not only who the band was, who the fans of the band were. Which that's a unique kind of thing of like everybody kind of wears that badge, I think, at our show. So I love that one.
What's the feeling like when the banjo starts to that
It's
song?
always great because it's like, that song's a sneaky rock song, which I love. It comes on with a banjo kind of soft. People don't know this, but like when that song first came out, this is pre Mumford and Sons and all that kind of stuff. So banjo was like a really strange instrument at the time, especially in pop music. It was like, whoa, you're doing bluegrass, So that felt sort of rebellious at the time, and it still kind of does to me.
Now, this is also probably another title track for you, but The Reckoning.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm trying to think of the other songs on there. I'm so bad with the timeline of which songs were on which record. Gosh.
I think this was Keep Your Eyes Open.
Right. Keep going. What else have we got? I'm trying to think out.
Yeah. There was a song called Oohs and Ahs, right?
Oh, dude, that song. So I'm gonna go with that one actually.
You like that one? Okay.
Yeah, that Reckoning record is a really cool record. It was a lot of fun. We made it right before we were going out with Taylor Swift, which was, our eyes were all big and like, whoa, this is crazy. This is really happening. So it's very grandiose, kind of like we're going to be playing arenas and stadiums record. And that Oohs and Ahs song was the first song we played every night on the Reckoning tour. So I have great memories of that.
Rivers in the Wasteland.
Yeah. Well, the song Wasteland, actually, which is it's kind of the title track, is probably my favorite. Mainly because I wrote that at the end of the record. It was the last song that made it, and it's a live take in the studio. So I just went in and cut it the next morning after I wrote it, and that's what's on the album.
That's a pretty emotional song. That might have been the one that got Scottie if you played that one.
Yeah, I mean that's it's funny. I tell a story sometimes of like that song I set out to write the darkest song I could write. I was in a really bad spot. I mean, the band had been working on this record in Van Nuys, California for like 6 weeks and had about 3 songs done maybe. So that's not that's not very efficient. And so I was just in a really rough way. The band was fighting. And of course, like people come up to me all the time, like that song is so encouraging to me. I'm like, that's amazing that it could be used for that and that you saw it in that way. And
then your guys' sound changed a lot, I think, through until this next record, Hard Love.
Yeah, there's a bunch of, so that record is a really good record song wise. It's probably my least favorite record in terms of sonically. It got kind of a little out of hand, I thought. And I'm gonna give you what did you call it? A shank. There's a song on there. There's a song on there. I'll do that instead of all the one on this one. It's like, but there's a song on there called When I Sing, which it's not a bad song in itself. And it was like one of those things where like a piece of the song's good, but not the whole song's good. And I feel like we like forced that on the record and we've never played it live and whatever. So I'll give you a shank on that one.
There's 2 versions to that, isn't there?
There probably is. There probably is.
The chorus is a little different.
Yeah, and I think we really like grinded over trying to make the one part of the song that we liked into an actual song, which hopefully we've learned our lesson in that way. Sometimes the song just is not going to reveal itself to you.
And then I hate to skip over Into the Mystery, but let's do that one real quick, and then let's close with Caves. So give me
okay. Yeah, I think like I said, I think that song West Texas Wind is off of Into the Mystery. That's probably my favorite on there. Into the Mystery is my favorite record, believe it or not. It's the most personal. I love that. And on Caves, gosh, what song? How Wonderful We Are is probably my favorite song. It's one of those that, there's also a song called Hideaway. So I like both of those songs. It's been really interesting. We're playing some of those songs, but we can't play the whole record. So we got 4 or 5 in there right now. So I'm sure next tour we'll play the other 4 or 5, and I like one of those. But yeah.
Now to close, I'm curious because you guys are starting a world tour soon. Do you play more of the oldies, considering the fact that people in other countries sometimes start listening to the older stuff?
Sure.
They get a hold of that a lot sooner than they get a hold of the newer stuff.
Yeah, we try to put some sort of balance in there. I mean, it's tough. There's 150 songs to pick from, and we got 2 hours. So I think there's a good sprinkling of like from all the albums. There's a couple songs in there. There's some old ones that we're going to play no matter what. So it's a matter of like changing them up and making them feel fresh. There are, 4 or 5 songs from the new record that we play. Yeah, we try to give enough. I do think there's an awareness. I'll ask people almost every night. We've been doing this over 20 years, and we always say we're the biggest band your friends have never heard of. So it is such a niche thing. You're like, why are 5,000 people here for this band? We've never had some big hit. And I'll say, is it your first time seeing the show? And almost every night, half the audience is brand new. So I think that's something that we're aware of, going like, yeah, I know we've done 2,000 shows, but this is their first. So try to make sure you put the pieces of like what our story is, where we came from and where we're going.
That's going to be great. Well, Bear, thanks so much. We know that you're not going to be very far away from St. Andrews when you guys are in the UK. So
there's some discussions because I've never played over there. I played K Club one time back in the day. So there's some discussions of how we can like stay a couple of days and maybe play some golf. So we'll see.
Perfect. Well, thanks again, Bear.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.